Good morning.
Good
How are you?
morning. Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Good. Interesting.
Let's clear it up.
Good throat clear. Nice way.
Yeah.
That is moving to go on. Oh, bless. It will be purified. Everything shall be purified.
Mm-hmm.
So how did your reading resonate with you? What was the first, what were your initial takeaways? And then we'll get into specific questions you had.
Yeah. Well, so I understand that I'm kind of very, mental, and that I need to bring it down and to connect into the earth and with people, like relationships.
Because your
and
ascendant's
stuff.
in Gemini, so that's very social, very can be superficial, but Gemini, needs to connect.
So that I understand that there is a part of me that is like connected to Draco, and I have to kind of recognize this dragon inside me and connect with it. And
yeah, I mean, if you think of the dragon aspect of Draco, being that it's not the Sikar reptilian frequency, so in Draco there's different bandwidths of reality, and when you have, it's my feeling, when you have connections with Draco from Saturn and earlier, so Saturn to Pluto, then that's very much connecting to the bandwidth of, it's so old that it's connecting to the bandwidth of the dragons rather than the Sikar, which would be, connections earlier.
Yeah, and I don't feel like I've read anything about dragons. Like I've seen about like more the self-serving, like service to self stuff, but I haven't come across anything about dragons yet, apart from hearing you or someone else just mention dragon.
So okay. The working theory subject to change, because we're getting more and more downloads and more memories are being activated all the time. So we can only present what is the latest resonance at this time, knowing that as we become higher and higher in our frequency, we're able to bring, more and more refined, specific truth to the present reality on Earth. But the dragons are ancient beings that are not reptilian, but ancient beings that are part holding the archetype for consciousness. So very like almost connected to like founder energy being sort of like the main oversoul or main oversouls of this universal reality. And the dragons are very much like just patience of just holding the wisdom of the archetype of the matrix of reality, for when we can remember it again and start interacting. And it was really interesting, about 2 months ago, just before the dragons came into my field of consciousness, I had an experience in my evening practice where I traveled somewhere and to connect with somebody that I have no connection to dragons with, like whatsoever, like, like not part of this whatsoever. but when I connected to them, there was a black dragon standing next to them. And I asked, what is the black dragon? And within a week, it came through my field that the black dragons are actually connected to Archangel Michael and a form of protection. And then I was shown how that frequency is actually embodied and worn in this realm. And then I was connected to a dragon that there is a lake under Satyam at the ashram here, and it was shown to me that there is a dragon. I actually painted a picture of him. Do you want to see him?
Mm-hmm.
I'll paint a picture. This dragon is actually one of the portal guardian keepers of Niwas.
Oh wow, nice.
And he's based in the frequency of the crystalline apatite.
Crystalline apatite?
Yeah, so the crystal's called apatite, and the frequency of that crystal, I actually have one here. So there's a lot when we're connecting with dragons on the earth realm. They seem to be very much like anchored into or connected into the crystalline realm frequency of earth. So very much in that, like the foundation of rock, earth, right? And so there's different dragons that have like hooked into the frequency. And so the one that has said that he lives at Niwas, which we don't have much to do with him right now, except that now we know that he's there, is connected to this crystalline. And so I was actually working with the colors of apatite, just painting by the lake one day, and had no thoughts of dragons or anything. And I was just trying to work with the colors of apatite and the frequency of that color. And by the time I had painted it, I looked at it and went, oh, it's a dragon.
Wow.
Yeah. And then so he's part whole, it's not holding the portal, but he kind of is the point of the portal. Maybe he is the portal. There's also a portal engineer here that is not the dragon. So there's like different roles, but he's very much connected to the portal that is here. So these dragon energies are attracting people who have that blueprint archetype memory in them. We just have to unlock it.
So that's it. So I've been trying to like go through the Golden Lake book, because I don't want to spend the whole private session on you explaining to me what's in the book. But
it's a good book.
Yeah, and like it just kind of shatters my whole beliefs. Like it's all different. And yeah, so yeah, I can see that I'm like really attached to my character. And I was really enjoying thinking like of past lives and like my evolution, you know?
Yeah.
So
the
it's
ego
different.
orientation to what evolution is. No,
Yeah.
it's that is, I mean, that's helpful to understand, you know, when you explain something complicated to a child, you have to break it down to the bandwidth that they can understand.
Yeah.
And so our collective conscious, I've just gone super goosey, so I know that we're supposed to explain this. So, you know, the consciousness of the collective of the humanity in the last 50 years, last 20 years, has been very much needing to wake up to my evolution, my past lives, my impact, my memory. But there's always this disconnect between that and sub-ek, all one, you know, everything coming from the one. And you watch the masters when they speak of such things, and they will speak in the languaging that you can understand, but they never actually fully identify with your past lives as, you know, they always say you hold the samskara of past lives that. And then they will speak about it coming from the one, which of course in this book is considered the Golden Lake, which we would say is Purusha or Atma. And Yeah. So there's this, you know, going from a 5-year-old's perspective of ego orientation to everything, just to create, you know, the concepts of memory beyond this reality and this time, to, you know, a teenager needing to understand things a little bit more, you know.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, crassly, I remember being a kid and thinking to have sex, you always had to take your clothes off. And then being a teenager and it being explained to me that, you know, you don't actually have to be fully naked to have sex. Like, this to me was like, I know it seems like super crass, but it's exactly the same with this concept of past lives and ego orientation. It's like you think one thing, and it's not incorrect. You can be naked and have sex, but it's not the full understanding. And so we're going to be doing a lot in Roots and Wings next year. That's going to slowly and gently reorientate this belief. And we've already started, but we're going to be really going, because the amount of expansion that it creates is profound.
Mm-hmm. And so I have a question related to shamanic journeys that I've done, and with the, like, how did we call it? Soul, you know, when you bring back a part
Retrieval.
of the soul retrieval. Yeah, soul retrieval.
Yes.
We did 2 of those.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, thinking that it's not like me that's been, like, you know, traveling through all these lives with the same, you know, like stuff, samskaras and all of that. So what does that mean?
How does a soul retrieval work from this orientation and this perspective?
Well, yeah, what does it mean? Because there's one, for example, where we, like, and I had a choice, like we could do it or not. Like, it was a very powerful soul part that was a soul priestess, like in ancient times in Mesopotamia. And
which is connected to Lyran frequency and the galactic, just so you know.
Okay, well, that's it. So, and just so to help me see, like, it wasn't bullshit, but what does it mean? So
everything gets put in my bullshit pile until I can understand it.
Yeah.
I have a very big concept of my bullshit pile. Yep.
So this soul part got really powerful in that life, and to the point where she abused of her power and killed someone, like, for pretty much no reason, and then could not live with herself after doing that and fled. And then, so the shaman I was working with said that it shouldn't not have gone on for this long. Like, this has gone on for way too long, and like, she can come back now, you know, if you're ready and stuff. And so I was like, yeah, you know. And then so I felt the soul part coming in me, like I was like, you know, like, yes, like, come in, and, you know, and I felt it was really crazy. And then so the shaman told me that this soul part had created a soul contract to say that she could not be trusted. So, and I could, you know, burn this contract and create a new one to say that now I can be trusted because I follow spirit, you know. So yes.
Okay. So what your guides are wanting you to understand is, so if we think of this lifetime, you have 2 suitcases. And you know how in those suitcases sometimes there's like little zips that have like little compartments that are hidden, right? So there are memories in those compartments. You're traveling around with them your whole life, but you don't realize what's in that compartment. You have forgotten what's in that compartment. So a soul retrieval is about unzipping that secret compartment and allowing what has always been there, right, to come to the light. This is the aspect of Lilith, right? To come to the light. so that you know that you're carrying it around, so that you can then decide where it's going to sit within your day to day. You know how you put your clean knickers on top so that they're the first thing you can grab out, because you know when you get to the place you're going to, you're going to need a shower. So you know you're always, you know, you pack for maybe that's just me, but you know, like, then you have a choice of where to put this in your suitcase. And this is what we're doing right now. We are going through our suitcases, and this is the retrieval part, the soul retrieval. It's not that there is an aspect of ourselves that we are retrieving, but there is memory that we have accessible in this lifetime that we are not yet aware of.
Okay.
And so those soul retrievals are not aspects of ourselves that are coming in from the outside, but are being stimulated and bringing forth from, it's always been there. You just need to remember it. Okay. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. Thank you.
So now you have a choice of, okay, so I know that that level of power is there.
Yeah.
And I know I hold the memory of what it feels like to abuse that power, which is of course going to connect through to the Orion frequencies, and maybe the Andromeda, the Matra from Andromeda frequency of power over and abusive power. That's just a memory. It's not bad. It's not good. It's, you know, when we're playing Operation and you're trying to get out the little thing on the game and you go, right? You've got to have that memory so that you don't waste an entire lifetime trying to figure out where that boundary is. Yeah. So knowing you've got that power in you, knowing you have the memory of where the boundary is of abusive power, fantastic. Bring it all in, bring it all here. Allow yourself to fully embody the power in service to Gaia. Yeah. And be thankful for the memory of what it is to abuse the power, because that's going to hold your boundary. You don't have to relearn. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah.
So, and so while reading the report, I resonated with a lot, and I had a lot of questions on what does that mean? How do I do that? You know, so kind of very technical. So, so there's stuff that is more kind of theory. So, but there's stuff more like practical, like how do I do that? So like this. Okay, so how to bring this deeper awareness from your inside world and anchor it into the family life is your life's lesson. So I'm like, okay, how do I do that? How can I, like, examples of this, you know?
So it's a feeling and a frequency. For example, you have this meeting today of this nature and this frequency. You plan it so that your husband is not there. Yeah. Right? Because there's a part of you that doesn't want to bring this into the family awareness because you feel like it's going to be rejected or it's going to create conflict or that. So those frequencies of, I don't want to bring this part of me to the family table because I feel like it's going to be rejected. That's where you have to really sit with yourself and say, why not? If this is my family, why am I not able to bring all of me to the table? There's very few places in reality where you can bring all of you to the table. But I personally feel that your marriage and your children need to be the place to bring all of you to the table. Your children, because they need to see the light and the humility and the humanity of what it is, so that they can have the courage to shine themselves and the humility and the ability to make mistakes and keep going. If they don't see that in their parents, then how are they ever going to have that opportunity to embrace their own humanity if they don't see their parents embracing their humanity? So if they see that, or they feel unconsciously that their parent is holding aspects of their life back and don't share and don't explain and, you know, are afraid to bring themselves, and they're going to come into adulthood being not quite sure that they can really bring all of themselves,
Yeah.
because children just entrain to us. So that,
Yeah. Yeah, that
so
makes
really
sense.
look at how you are holding yourself, all of you, your deliciousness, back in the very place, in your home, in the place, you know, in work, there's boundaries, and, you know, and this, they're fine, and this, it's fine. But at home,
Yeah. Well, and like for a meeting like this, I just don't want to have people listening on what we're talking about. It's like, but yeah, maybe yeah, you know, I just want to have my private time to just explore everything.
and
But
that
yeah,
is okay, but it
but
also
then
brings the
share.
question of, you know, why?
Well, it's a bit
With
like
your,
going to the shrink, and you know, I mean, I have brought Heidi Blue with me to the shrink when she was little, but I wouldn't bring her anymore, you know.
right?
But yeah,
Yeah.
no, that makes sense. And I was comparing a bit with my mom, who shared a lot, like what she was doing and stuff. And you know, she did hypnosis, and she shared like her experience, and it helped me understand the stuff, or you know, like, and she always shared her faith with me, like, yeah.
Beautiful.
Cool. I mean, and there are stuff that, you know, like to stand in sovereignty beyond dualism and in your power, like,
No pressure.
you know, I mean, I it's my life's work, so I don't expect to understand everything today either, you know,
Yeah.
like things are gonna come into place at times, I
At the
guess,
right
you
time,
know.
yeah.
But yeah, and well, then you've said that a lot, like sitting in the paradox, and I have that in my report, you know, quite a bit, sitting with the paradox. And so how do you do that?
Well, like the example that you just had of this memory of this woman who was completely in her power, but then pushed the boundaries of what was power over and abused the power, brought it into service to self by hurting somebody rather than in service to the divine, or service to others. And you need to be able to sit with that, right? Because then what happened was she rejected the power out of guilt and shame of the abuse of it. So the abuse has created a paradigm of polarization. So now you're even too scared to embrace the power because you're scared of abusing, right? So being able to sit with both of those memories and have them sit in the paradox of the heart of, this is what it feels like to be in your power. This is what it feels like to abuse that power. I have to reconcile that, because to be afraid to abuse the power is going to be afraid to embody the power. To embody the power is going to create a responsibility not to abuse it. So there's a paradox that you got to sit with. You know, you can have a paradox with a challenging family member of, I have so much love for this person, but this person isn't always good for me in my life, or this person is very challenging to be around in my life, or I don't actually like this person. I love this person, but I don't like this person's behavior. And that's a paradox that you can sit with.
Yeah. So, but when you say sit with, like, I actually kind of sit in front of my altar and just like focus on feeling the different aspects of that paradox, for example. And
yeah, so you sit and you feel the frequency of that love for that person, and then you feel the rejection of the behavior, and then you feel the frequency of the rejection of the thing you don't like, and you notice how the love for them starts to feel further away. And you sit, yeah, you can feel this now. You can sit, and you sit with it, oscillating between the frequency of these two different realities until you can get them to feel them both at the same time without creating a dualistic rejection or polarization, until you can sit with that. And it is the work. It is the work. It is not easy. And it's layers. It's an onion. It's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. But we've got to, that's the work of sitting in the paradox, seeing those things, because what we're doing is the love for that person and the rejection or the fear or the repulsion of the behavior of that person are in fact two memories, or we're only perceiving that in that person because it's triggering a memory inside of us. And that's how we're reconciling the pieces of our own self. And that's what I'm talking about in your galactic aspect, where the healing, the Orion narrative healing of sitting in that paradox is where you're at in this lifetime, is your work, is your service to humanity, to be willing to have the chutzpah to feel the frequencies of what you're capable of what those memories are capable of, and to know what you are in your light and in your power, and not reject either of them, and to reconcile and to forgive and to hold and to understand, and to no longer push either side away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I could do it for a while, like see the light and understand and stuff, and yeah, now I'm in a bit of repulsion mode, and it's like it's fine, like, but it's like
yeah.
So I'm at that stage stuff, to bring this what I'm learning and stuff, and I feel like I do it with
as a teacher, the it's challenging because there's so much you want to share. I always have the rule, or I try to have the rule of, if you don't ask, I'm not going to say. Right? The person has to ask. Because it's not just about sharing what my experience is and what I want to bring out to the world, but it's about knowing what I have to share and then bringing it to the world as the world is ready to hear it. Right?
And there was something that was saying pretty much exactly that later on. I think you said there it's a doozy.
Your self
It's a
notes in
doozy.
Pisces in the spiritual deacon. So you've already mastered that inner ideal, like that dream, right? That's why it's a south node. You don't need to do that now. You know how to connect that, but now it's about how to bring it through in the details and the simplicity and the cleanliness that Virgo likes in the 5th house, which means yourself, your shine, because it's connected to Leo and the sun, right? So,
but when the world is ready.
And when the world is ready. So the key is to do the work, to embody it, so that when the world is ready, it's already there. And then you've worked through the layers of having something to prove, having something to share, needing to be understood, needing confirmation. Once you're embodied, none of those things matter. Right?
So, and I put a LOL for just need to be mindful that you don't bite off more than you can chew this week. Really, it just sums it up. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah, time is changing rapidly. And I think that's why, like the bite-sized lights on the We Are community, it's really important to just have those constant, like real-time reminders of, oh, this week time is going crazy. Let's reorientate to what time is and what action is.
Yeah, I haven't listened to them for the past few days. Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's so many questions. Like I could just go on and on and on and on
Well,
till
we
the
have
end of
we have
time.
time for a few more. So.
But I'd like to have your like executive summary of your understanding. Like I think I understand, but yeah, I'd like to hear if you have like bite size for key points. Like, have we already pretty much addressed them?
I think so. I think the understanding, doing a little digging into the Orion narrative, especially the Procyon Wars, because your guides are connected to Procyon, to the Jinvo Starseed. If you understand the Jinvo Starseed frequency, you'll be able to pick that out as the frequency of your guides. Then anything that is in contradiction or conflict to that frequency, you'll be able to clearly discern that that is what the work is. And to anchor it has to be in actions.
Yeah.
Right? Apathy does not create change.
Yeah.
The status quo out of fear does not create evolution.
No.
And your primary mission at this time that has come through is the integration of these aspects of self. And once that is done, or once that has been acknowledged and been, recommitted to, because you've already committed to it because you're here, then to embody it, have it come through into physical actions.
Yeah.
Right? Those boundaries. And if you understand the Orion narrative, I think if you read the Prism of Lyra, it goes into a bit about the Orion narrative a little bit, I believe. The Elena Danan's book of the Starseeds, what is it called? A Gift from the Stars, that has a lot about the Orion narrative. If you understand that the memories that are inside of you have identified with both sides of that narrative. You have identified with it being the right thing to be in service to self, and you have identified with it being the right thing to service to others. And you've been on both sides of that. And now's the time for the integration, because the Orion light is already here. We just have to remember it. And that, as a soul, as a suitcase, is profound. That you would take that on as your mission. It's not your work, but it's your responsibility. It's not, to clean up a mess without having to create a narrative about whose mess, but to know to clean up the mess is the most beautiful thing that you could do, without any attachment to whose mess, why mess, when mess, what mess. To just know that you have the capacity, the ability, the light to clean up that mess and to do it in service to Gaia. That is what we're here for. The more stories we have about the this and who and what and where and why, and that actually just holds us back in that paradigm of, you know. But if we know that this is the frequency of the mess and that is the frequency of the mess, that's holding us in polarization, and I have the capacity and the support and the guides and, oh my God, the light you have to clean up this mess, to heal this paradigm, to heal this paradox, and to embody the divine light, the Orion light, in this lifetime on Earth. That's what you focus on. No pressure.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
You are. Yeah. The specific matrix of memory that shines through your facet, through your face of the divine, is courage, fierce love, and incredible light. And you are surrounded, and you have people and beings and light beings and physical people on your team.
So, and when I want to connect with my guides, they're all from
at this time. So when it comes through of like, who's your guides at this time, it's not that all your guides are Jinbo from Procyon, but at this moment, with the aspect that you're digesting, with the memory in your suitcase that you're integrating, that frequency of Jinbo, of the Procyon, is going to be an incredibly good guiding light to calibrate to attune to. And then when that piece is done, there are other guides within your chart that would then step up and go, okay, now she's ready for the next layer. And it'll come through as a different starseed collaboration and a different frequency to attune to and to collaborate to.
So, and I feel like I've had kind of exercises to practice with connecting with guides following my shamanic journeys. Like I had to connect like every day with, you know, certain frequencies, then twice a week with another one, and then weekly with another one for like a year. So is that what I do basically? Like I kind of just, you know, close my eyes and call upon a certain, you
Yeah,
know.
I mean, you literally, like, when you sit and you ask to my guides that are connected to the Procyon Jinvo frequency, I am here, I'm ready to connect. Can you please let me feel you in this reality? And then when you feel them, then you ask them for a name. Of course, the name is going to come through in something that you can digest and remember and say, because sometimes their names are not like sayable. You know, I had a guide for like 10 years who was Sam. You know, like, was his name Sam?
Make it easy.
But, yeah, exactly. But if I called Sam, he knew that I was calling him.
Yeah.
Right? He was working with somebody else, the name might have been different, you know, but it's about frequency. And this is where we need to start really using our guiding light. And of course, this is again what we're going to be working on in Roots and Wings next year, is a systematic remembering, bringing those pieces back and embodying into that direct communication. Because not everybody is destined for that, but everybody has guides. So at whatever level, whether you think that you have to be naked to have sex or right, whatever level you're at, you can interact with your guides at that level.
So and so, okay, I have the first part, and then like, do I ask questions or do I say like, can you? So when I was doing the exercise before, I had two things. It was like, what can I do to feed you, and what is your gift to me at this time?
Right.
So, but is there something kind of, that I can use to help me start this
Yeah, I
connection?
mean, again, there's really, so how do I put this? A different layers of awareness, different actions and relationships are needed.
Yeah.
So before surrender, reciprocity is absolutely key. First offer, then receive. First offer, then receive. You've learned this, you've embodied this, you felt, when I offer unconditionally, when I go above and beyond unconditionally, then what I receive is beyond. If you get into a transactional relationship with spirit, you will hold it at a lower vibration.
Yeah.
And that's really hard.
Yeah.
Especially when it's your work. To know what is right relationship with transactional and what is when to offer unconditionally and receive unconditionally.
Yeah.
But that's a really, really important thing to learn how to anchor.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Then you get to the point after surrender. What you offer and what you receive no longer becomes transactional, because every breath is offered. Your mere existence is offered. The fact that you are having this conversation is an offering.
Yeah.
Right? And then you are receiving unconditionally. It does not become transactional anymore with the guides. You both have a mission.
Yeah.
You know, you become this transactional thing is appropriate and needed and necessary and right when we are still in the paradigm of power over and and the ego orientation. But then with your guides, you get to this place where you are co-workers. There is not, you're not looking at each other giving like this. You are both standing, looking at the mission and going towards that. You're not interested in what, you need from them and they need from you and blah, 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 blah. You're not orientated to that transaction. You're orientated to what is the Sankalpa, what is Gaia at this time needing. In service to Gaia, this is what we're needing. Who cares?
Yeah.
But that is after surrender.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Totally.
So you have to decide, are you functioning pre-surrender or post-surrender orientation?
Well, I feel like I have. Maybe just now, or like with just understanding how it's like, how it's functioning, what we are, what we're doing, it's like, and like it said here, it's like the mission is what I'm here for, and that's what I've been like craving. It's like, what am I here for? And it's like no one understands, I think, how deep this question was.
Right.
Yeah. It's like I knew I was here for something, and now I know.
I mean, that's what ashram life, I think, primarily at this time is here to teach. And I know that this is what I have learned in ashram life in India, is that you're not coming in with, well, I will give this to the master and the master will give me, and they're like, no, you give unconditionally, you receive unconditionally. Stop looking at me for what you need.
Yeah.
Focus more on what you have to offer to the mission.
Yeah.
To the sankalpa.
Yeah.
To the yagya. Focus on what you have to offer to that, and trust that what you need is going to be offered ample.
Mhm.
But if you keep looking to the masters of like, well, this is what I want, this
Yeah.
is what I'll give, this is what you should be giving me. No, no more. You will stay in that paradigm, and that's okay to stay in that paradigm, and that is fine. But that is not.
Do you think I would be getting this mission if I was
No, it's not
asking
what
for
you're.
what I
You are
want?
capable of much more. Exactly, which is why you're having opportunities to learn how
Yeah.
to reorientate transactional relationships
Yeah.
into mission orientated relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Naman narayan.
No more. You know, there's a learning curve.
Of course, it's a lifetime.
And sometimes silence speaks louder. When you ask a question to ashram about, what you will give me or what I will give you or blah, 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 and silence is the answer, then you know that the question is in the wrong paradigm. And to interact with that question lowers the learning frequency of the paradigm. To come down and to transactionally nitpick in that way is to lower it. So then the answer becomes silence, so that you have to reorientate your question or your orientation to the task so that the flow is there.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And do we have an example here about the colors with the community calendar? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's like, I mean, do you want to move on to, or it's just an example, but yeah. And it's like, I mean, regardless of money, and maybe I should have said that's just, I had this kind of desire or want
Impulse.
to, this impulse to, to like actually structure colors better. But is it really important? And like I put money and worth it in it. I guess it was just to say, is it worth putting time into this, or is it just satisfactory the way it is? I guess that was
So then, but because you anchored the question in, is it worth the money? It lowered the paradigm. If you had come and said, I've done what has been requested, I have the impulse for this, as karma yoga, does it have value to do this?
Exactly. And that's really what I wanted to know.
Back with, as karma yoga, it totally has value to do this.
Okay. And that is the answer?
That is the answer.
Okay, good. Cool. Perfect. There we go. We have a practical example.
But this is it. This is the teachings. This is how the teachings of different paradigms and that come through.
Perfect.
And it's really important in languaging of which paradigm am I orientating to when I'm interacting with something, and to bridge the worlds and to make sure that things are clear,
So much reading, because that's it. I didn't read about this Jinvo stuff. I did not read apart from their description. So it's more in the Prism of Lyra that I'll find a bit more, or it's more with the Orion narrative.
The Orion narrative in the Prism of Lyra. In the Gift from the Stars from Elena Danan, she has stuff about the Jinvo.
Okay.
But if you don't have that book, you can probably find it on YouTube.
Oh, I do. I have 3 of them. I have those 3 books.
Oh, okay, good. So that is in there. And what I think is really beautiful about the Jinvo in orientation to your present moment is the consideration to the children. There orientation as a society to
Mm.
the well-being of the children is paramount. And they and the values that they instill and the education that they instill to the children is paramount. But then we had the Procyon Wars, where Orion tried to take. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's all happening inside of you, and you'll know when the right time is to embody and boundaries and that within the physical. Yeah. So I'm gonna stop recording.
Yeah. Well.